welcome to Therabites, where we bring you bite-sized episodes, each one a piece of the puzzle that helps to explain the therapy world, the research behind it all, and how it relates to families. My name is Dr. Dayna Poole, physiotherapist and clinical lead at the Healthy Strides Foundation. It is my privilege to be hosting this podcast, one that is directed for families of children with neurodisabilities. We hope to be able to answer some of your questions through this format. To help us navigate our way through these big questions, we have the lovely, the one and only Kate co-hosting this podcast. Welcome, Kate.
Thank you so much, Dayna. It's so great to be here again to continue our conversations. Hopefully it has been helpful for everyone listening.
That's awesome. It's lovely to be here again. It's lovely to have another chat with you, Kate.
Thank you.
So much fun, isn't it? We get to come in here and just chat.
Have a giggle.
Yeah, that's right. As I wait for your question to see what you have, and it's all really good and it's heaps of fun. So yeah, we hope this has been really useful for all of you. And I know that what's the most useful part, no, I shouldn't say that, like a contributing useful part of it is my Did You Know That segment. I know you all wait for it.
Absolutely, we do.
Look, this one I saw with great intrigue because we always talk about exercise and the benefits of exercise. Yes. And we often talk about the fact that exercise is medicine. And these researchers from the University of Queensland have shown that even more so. They've just recently published their results in the Journal of Aging and Disease. And they found that high-intensity interval training, i.e. HIIT, boosts cognitive function and the effects last for up to 5 years.
Wow.
So good. In particular, so they were really focusing on older adults because they know that cognitive decline can start to happen in older adults. And we talk a lot about dementia and the cases for that. But they found that actually by engaging in HIIT, not only did they just maintain it, they improved cognitive performance.
Oh, wow.
Right?
That's incredible.
Isn't that?
Yeah.
So I've been a big fan of HIIT lately because with limited time, you can just do it and then be done. And it's that good old burpee.
Oh, yeah.
Are you a fan of the burpee?
I was pre-kids. Not so much these days, but I guess knowing these benefits, I could potentially get back into that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it doesn't have to be burpees are actually really cruel, and whoever invented them, it's actually really mean, isn't it?
Yeah.
You get to 5 and you're like, I just want to stay on the ground. I can't get
my head starts spinning, trying to catch my breath.
Yeah. So you don't have to do very much. When it comes to HIIT, you can do 5 to 10 minutes in a day. Just start with that, where you just really raise that heart rate, and it's really efficient. And if we get these cognitive benefits, that's really important. Hey?
Absolutely. It's a win-win.
I love this new research. I love
great.
it. This is like right up my alley. Not too off-center. I thought I'll do something on elephants again, but I thought I won't.
I might need to read up a bit more about elephants before the next one.
Basically, to clarify, their brains aren't the size of peanuts.
No, they're huge.
They're huge.
I looked into it after. Yep.
It just shows you sometimes those old wives' tales.
Yeah.
These things that we
can't
learned.
trust them.
They're not real.
If it was one, maybe I made it up.
Well, I thought I'd give you an opportunity to clarify that because
Thank you very much.
Kate was a little bit horrified when she went back to the computer and Googled it and thought, actually, no, their brains are massive.
I was absolutely horrified. I was like, that wasn't recorded, was it?
So now you've made it right, Kate. You've made it right.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, very, very welcome. Well, now I'll hand the mic over to you. What question do you have today?
So, Dayna, this is actually a question we've had quite a bit lately, and I'm sure it's not new to you. It's to do with daycare. So as you could understand, this is a huge step for the families like ours with children that have neurodisabilities. It is not always an easy process. No. We have gone through this ourselves. Yeah. There's a lot to consider. So I guess I thought that I would start by asking you, from your knowledge, what the benefits are. We maybe start there, what the benefits would be of sending a child with a neurodisability to daycare, obviously outside of the fact that it allows the parents to attend work and get a bit of respite. So, I think that would be great to hear from you.
That's a great place to start. I think, there's so much press around at the moment about the first 1,000 days. And the reason for it is we just know that the development that happens in the brain in the first 1,000 days is huge. It's not just the motor and the mobility, it's cognition, it's communication, it's the play skills, and they really do set the foundations for the future.
Yes.
And what that means is it doesn't always have to be the parent. Like the parent can can do so much, but to provide that really stimulated environment that really encourages a child to interact with other people, other children, and recognize other people in their world, daycare is just such a great setting for that because it's just so age appropriate. Now, I'm not even diving into the challenges yet because I'm sure we're going to talk about that. But if we just talk about just the value of daycare, it is the social connections. It's actually starting to learn some of those social rules. It's about the learning to play and taking turns, something that is, you can do at home, but as a parent, taking turn with your child, it's a different dynamic.
It totally is. Yes.
Right?
Yes, we have learned that one. Yeah.
So you can only replicate so much of it. So there is great value in children being around other children. Play is just so integral to how a child develops, and daycare kind of just embodies that because there's a whole group of other children that are there.
Yep.
And it's that kind of, I don't know when's the last time some people have stepped into like a kindy environment or preschool. Whenever you go into those classrooms for the first time in a little while, you do get a little bit overstimulated.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yes.
I think it was years since I've been in one. I went into one recently and went, wow, it is loud. Like kids are everywhere.
Lot.
There's so much happening. So you can imagine if a child, now diving into neurodisability, if a child with a neurodisability has attended lots of one-on-one appointments all through their early childhood days, and they suddenly go into a kindy and preschool environment where it is loud, there's people everywhere, your first impression might be, wow, this isn't working for us. This isn't good for our kid.
Yep.
It's only because we haven't really given them that time that a lot of other children might have had time to sort of, regulate the sensory information that's coming in. So on a broad spectrum, really, daycares are just a great facilitator for play and development on all levels. And that's why I am such a big fan of it.
Okay, that's really good to know. And I'm so glad that back in the day you encouraged us because it has been the best thing that we've done.
Yeah, that's so great to hear.
Yes.
What were some of the biggest challenges? Because obviously we had that discussion.
We did.
Way back then. And it's a daunting discussion to have because you have to trust someone else with your child. Was that the first? That was the main part, do you think?
That was certainly the main part for me, was just trusting other people with, a medically complex child. But even just, I found it just as difficult with my second child, who is neurotypical. So I guess that's a whole nother thing. But definitely trusting them to know the right things to do in things like a medical emergency and them dealing with a child that maybe they'd never dealt with a nonverbal child before or a child that has epilepsy or all of the things that come with neurodisability. So, that was really difficult trusting, first of all.
Yeah. And how did you get around that? I mean, we can make these recommendations and yes, I advocate for it. But you went through a lot of steps to find the right place. And I know it's often a journey to find the right place, isn't it?
It certainly is. So we definitely went through a lot of steps. We first just looked for recommendations. So we just spoke to a lot of local families to see what people thought. We did try one daycare and through that learned that that wasn't what we wanted and what we were looking at.
Yeah.
And so that was just a short-lived but then we didn't let that deter us because we, through that, did see the benefits of going to daycare.
Yeah, sure. So you kept weighing the benefits to the not benefits of going.
Yes. And then just kept researching and then luckily we did found the perfect place for our child and it was pretty evident from the moment that we spoke to them.
Yes.
They took everything really seriously.
Yeah.
They specifically had a person whose role was an inclusion support officer.
Right.
So that was that first thing that gave me the confidence that, okay, they know what they're doing.
Yes.
And that person was able to speak the lingo.
Yes, that's right.
Yes.
So it sounds like knowing that a place has an inclusion support officer or worker was like was the deal breaker for you. That was the kind of like, okay, this is saying yes. So I guess moving forward from here, a great piece of advice for families is to know that that exists.
Yeah, it does exist. And we have since learned through talking to other people that it's not just our daycare. There are a lot of daycares that do have someone with that trained experience that has worked with other children, other therapists and has that experience and knows what they need to implement in their daycare.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's so good. So me asking you the question now that you've been through it, how do you know which daycares have that? Is it a matter of calling around your local area? Yeah.
Yep. So first thing's always to ask around. Like I said, I think parents endorsing is huge.
Yeah.
And this particular daycare had a lot of endorsement from the local community.
Amazing.
And then, so it was through contacting them that then we found out and explaining our situation. It was just no big deal to them. Like, oh, absolutely. Yeah, we have someone specifically. We'll get her to give you a call.
Right.
Like, there was no panic. There was no anything.
Yeah. And I would say then from that perspective, would you say that when you have this person, do you have like a series of meetings with them to talk them through your child?
Yes.
Yeah.
So that was the first thing is they brought me in for a chat. And then in through doing that, we sort of made a priority list of what they wanted to have happen. And the things that they wanted to have happen were like absolutely incredible. So they wanted seizure management plan. They wanted everyone trained in the seizure management plan. They got funding for that themselves, so we didn't have to do any of that.
Wow.
They got me to meet with their interior designer, and she made me walk through the rooms that he would be having access to, and we changed things. So she changed the rugs, anything that had sort of like hard corners or anything that he could fall or hurt himself on. So they changed couches, rugs, placement of things, just made the area more open so that when he does use his wheelchair, it's easy for him to navigate the space.
Phenomenal.
So that was really incredible. They had
Was there any cost to you for that?
No cost to us whatsoever. That was just the daycare wanting to be as inclusive as possible.
Wow.
And as they said to us, yes, okay, we're doing it for him, but we're going to have hopefully other children with other disabilities. And so this is us learning and making the environment more accessible.
And that's where it starts
as a whole.
for everyone else, isn't it?
Exactly. And so that was really important to me as well, that I wasn't made to feel like my child was a burden, and it wasn't just all this for my child. It was for them to better themselves for other families.
I guess that manages that guilt.
Yes.
Always. One is the guilt sending them somewhere. Next is the guilt of going, oh, you're making these changes for my child. But actually, there is, when you think about their agenda, is for them to make this the most inclusive place possible for the future as well.
Exactly.
That's a cool thing to know.
Yep. And our child's just a part of their learning experience as well, which is pretty important.
Yeah.
We met with the inclusion support agency that they deal with for funding, and they actually gave us this huge catalogue, and we had to go through and pick out all the things that our child would need for daycare to make it inclusive and comfortable for him, which was absolutely amazing. So we went through that with our OT and our physio, and we put in an order, and they wanted all of that equipment to arrive prior to him starting.
Phenomenal.
So yeah, there was a lot of steps that were involved in. They wanted it to be absolutely perfect, and then multiple play sessions where we would bring him in, we would stay, and we would talk to the class teachers about what this means when he does this. This is what, and so they really got to know him prior to us sort of just dumping him on them. Yeah. And that was so important to all of us.
So coming back down to trust again, that really helped you. That was the point, right?
I got to see not only their interaction with him, but their interaction with the other children, just to, just gauge. Yeah. There's dogs panting, there's babies crying. It's all happening in here today, Dayna.
There is. I know we do have Frankie in here with us, our Chow Chow, and he just had an exciting morning. So you'll hear some panting in the background. And some little kids are not in the studio, but in the clinic just getting ready for their session. So yes, it is a bit loud, but that's the joy. That's the whole point of getting your kids ready
exactly
to go to different environments. But Kate, I feel like your story is such a wonderful story, because from there, once you got your lovely young man into daycare, what has that done for you?
Oh my gosh, I got some
you're
time
here.
back in my day. Exactly. I was able to take on amazing opportunities like this. I was able to get my washing done. I was able to make like medical appointments for myself and things, like the things that as parents we put on the back burner, like, just all those routine things, going to the dentist.
Yes. Looking after yourself.
Working out.
Yeah.
I just
doing
found
kid training.
Yes, exactly. I'm going to add that to my list of things to do on daycare day now. There was a lot that you don't realise that you're not doing until you actually give yourself some time to prioritise yourself and do those things. Yep. So that was really important. That was my first priority. It was to get him in to socialise him, but also for me to socialise myself. Yeah, that's right. I guess.
And that is actually, when I hear all of that, I go, that is the true translation of research into practice. because the research says, we should be looking at those first 1,000 days. The research says we should be supporting children's development, even if they have a neurodisability. The research also says we need to be looking after parents during this time, because it's not a sprint, it's a bit of a journey, and there is time that is required for that. So it's amazing how going to daycare, as simple as just having that roll off the tongue sounds like, it is actually doing all the things we know is the best thing for well-being. Yes. But it's taking that first step, isn't it?
It is, absolutely. It might be many steps. As I said, we, had to experience a few different things to know what was the right thing. But it was absolutely worth it.
Yeah, that's so cool. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for sharing that. And I think a lot of parents are going to hear this, and if you're thinking about going to daycare, what that looks like, I think definitely reach out to us. Kate's here. We're here to help you if there's any questions that you might have, and you've had a wonderful experience, and I've heard of plenty of people who hadn't had a great experience. So let's try to make more people have good experiences and start it right.
Yes, and if you have had a great experience locally, we would also love to hear that, so that we can pass that information on to other families. If they tell us what area they're in and that they're looking, it'd be great to be able to share that.
Yeah, really cool. Thank you very much for that question. I liked asking you all the questions in return, so that was brilliant. Thank you so much. And to everyone else, take care, and we'll talk to you all again really soon. Bye.